But the thing that Mike, we were talking about just before we came on, that was really, is a topic I love talking about, which is paying no taxes. So, how are you avoiding both federal and state income tax right now?
No problem to talk about that. Love talking about that. Thanks for the intro, Michael. I will say, not just me, my great partners and team have built those businesses. We've also grown a very successful construction company, title company, property management company that go along, and title company that go along with that. So, very, very much interested into how do you build businesses, how do you scale them, and then how do you keep them profitable? And part of profitability isn't just what you make, right? It's about what you keep. Right. So, I mean, that's something we always got to look at is what's your actual bottom line? What are you taking home? Net profit. Right. So what are you actually keeping? What I really, really want to talk about is investment in real estate. All these people watching this right now should be in one way or the other in real estate. Right. And we're servicing real estate clients. One thing I see about, real estate practitioners, we get so embedded with our real estate clients. We care so much about them. We always fail to turn ourselves into our own clients. I shouldn't say always, but so often we fail to turn ourselves into a client of ourselves. Right? We don't invest in real estate the way that we should. We are the experts in real estate. We sell real estate. We work with real estate investors, but often we don't end up investing ourselves. So does Michael and I, avoid taxes along with my other partners? And when I say tax avoidance, there's a difference between their avoiding taxes, the tax evasion, very different concept.
Tax evasion is completely illegal. Tax avoidance is not only legal, it's highly recommended.
If you're gonna, anybody making money has to figure this out. Like, how do I not pay so much in taxes?
Yeah.
Well, for those that are unfamiliar with the concept, hopefully this will teach you something today that you can research and reach out about because this is a great concept. But most of us know forever when you're, working out with your CPA and you're doing your yearly taxes, if you own real estate of any kind, there's going to be a talk about depreciation, right? And, forever the talk was going to be about straight line depreciation. The house depreciates over 27.5 years. You take that equal amount of 24, that year of 27.5 years, you depreciate that amount. Well, a few years back, a new concept came out, bonus depreciation or accelerated depreciation, which allows you to segregate the cost of that house out from the cost of that lot or value of that lot. And you'd be able to then write off 100% of that value of the house. So, easy math, if the house is 500 grand on a purchase, lots of 100,000, the house is worth 400,000, you're writing $400,000 off of your taxable income. Michael, I don't know how much history you want to go into this, but that was being threatened. Under the previous administration, they were sunsetting that. Well, it just got brought back into full 100% bonus appreciation, which that was huge. So again, what does that mean? If you make $300,000 a year, you write off $400,000 a year because of your depreciation, you don't owe one single dollar of taxes. In fact, it'll roll over. Your loss will roll over to the next year. Now, that to me right there is one of the best ways that we can leverage our expertise in this industry, own a hard asset. Let's keep in mind, we're owning that hard asset, and we don't have to get rid of that hard asset. In fact, we don't want to. And that hard asset's going to grow in appreciation. You're going to be able to re-leverage that asset throughout time, and you're going to continue to use that as a tax shelter, the entire structure of your business. So I don't know, Michael, did that sum that part up good enough, or do you want to add something to it?
No, it does. And I think, it's not to get too political, but I mean, just to clarify, I think it's important that people understand that, look, this is not an upper class tax cut, and people, I think oftentimes talk about, oh, Trump is trying to, to just put out tax benefits for the rich. The reality is this is how the middle class gets rich. And what really is happening is they're trying to really bolster up the middle class. And specifically what they said was, hey, look, we don't want to just have tax benefits out there for Joe Blow out there. We specifically, what they don't want to do is they don't want to say, okay, we're going to make it really advantageous to invest in real estate. And then all of a sudden, everybody starts investing in real estate. And guess what happens to the marketplace? All of a sudden, 4, 5, 6 years later, we have a massive foreclosure boom because you had a bunch of people buying real estate that really had no business doing it, didn't know what they were doing. And so what they said was, hey, look, you know what? Let's give this tax break to real estate professionals. Let's give it to the real estate agents, the appraisers, the property managers, the full-time investors, people that really should know the real estate market, and that essentially that know better, right? That are less likely to end up in foreclosure than just Joe Blow off the street buying their first rental property. And so that's who they targeted us to. And by the way, how many ultra rich people do you know that are selling real estate for a living or that are appraisers for a living or whatever? Very few, right? So again, this is a middle class tax cut, and it's targeted at helping the middle class get out of the middle class and up into the upper middle class or lower upper class.
Well, if you define what wealth is, Michael, actually, I think it's not just a middle class tax cut, it's a middle class pathway to wealth.
Yes.
It's actually the pathway. Because, so often you'll hear people talk to the middle class that, man, if I could recapture what I paid in taxes, I could have actually saved money. I could have gotten it. I could have invested it, right?
That's right.
This is how you do that. This is how you take the money you would have invested into taxes and put it into real estate. But the difference is when you put it into taxes, that money is stagnant. It's gone. It does nothing more for you, right? Except for build roads and cool stuff like that. But ultimately, the asset you purchase in real estate, that's going to continue to grow in value over time, right? And you're going to owe less over time.
I got it. You're 100% correct. I'll give you a great example. So Tara just this last week bought a house in New Mexico. This particular house, we're paying like $420 for it or something like that. We're renting it out for $5,000 a month. So right off the bat, we got, good cash flow, $1,700 a month in cash flow. That's great cash flow on a property that price. I think we're putting, call it about 85 grand down on this property, right? Well, year one, we're going to get a tax deduction of $65,000 year one, plus $1,700 a month in cash flow, which essentially means year one, it pays for itself. I am 100% I'm infinite return at that point. I have no money invested in at that point because of the taxes I saved and because of the fact that I've got enough cash flow to essentially give me all my down payment back in year one. And from there, it's just infinite return. Where else can you do that? And by the way, why would I want to give money to a government that clearly doesn't know what they're doing with it? They clearly, come on, man. All the places they're spending money that they shouldn't be spending money. Last thing I want to do is give them more. I'd rather make that money work for me and for my family. And you guys should too.
No doubt. And, frankly, what we're talking about here, Michael, is, and I think this is where people get kind of confused on this. It's really hard, I think, to get started in your first investment property because you don't really know much about it. Even if you helped investors buy a property in the past, you've never owned one yourself or you had a bad experience with one, you don't know that much about it. Also, it's about, I hear a lot of it, I don't have the cash resources to do it. Or like the biggest problem we see in our industry is people don't qualify for the rental unit because they keep writing off all their income, right?
That's actually not a problem.
It's not a problem. So what I want to talk about is some of the tools, some of the mindset shifts that we got to have, and then some of the tools that we need to make this successful.
Club Wealth is the only coaching company on the planet that will literally guarantee that you will double your income or make at least an extra $100,000 your first year coaching with us, or we will give you 100% of your investment back. Click the link below, sign up for the appropriate tier level, and let's get you a strategy session today. And I promise you, I 100% guarantee you, promise you that you will walk away with a heart full of gratitude for the time that we took for you because you got so much value out of that call. Schedule your strategy session today. I promise you'll be glad you did.